Hello everyone, and how are you doing today? And welcome back to another video. Today we have my review of Jurassic World, the first in the new trilogy that came out in 2015. There will be spoilers in this video, so there's your warning. And yeah, so the return to this world of the two sour sequels, since I'm not a fan of The Lost World or Jurassic Park 3, although I actually don't mind Jurassic Park 3. It's one of those guilty pleasures, you know, like Batman and Robin. It is pretty bad, but I can have a fun time with it. And in my opinion, this is so we came back in 2015 in the period where a lot of classic franchises were getting sequels. I think The Force Awakens came out this year as well. I think maybe Blade Runner did, which I've never seen, so yeah, I can't really review them. But and I think I've seen a fair few debates on whether this film is actually good or not, and I have to say the best way to describe this film for me is a simple way, which is just a fun time. So we'll start off with what I do particularly like, which this bit could spark a bit of debate, but I like the family, as in Zach and Gray, and their dynamic and their characters. I think they're performed really well. Except for Zach, the one thing I don't like about Zach is how stereotypical he is. That is so it just feels lazy and it's not fun. But other than that, I felt like we saw depth in those two kids, and there's only so much you can do with child characters, but they felt mostly real. The one thing that let them down is Zach being very stereotypical, as I said, but otherwise the brotherly dynamic, the way they kind of their dynamic that grows throughout the events of Jurassic World, and how they both grow as brothers and their bond grows, I think that's great. And the one scene that sticks with me in particular every time I watch this film, it's the scene towards the end where the Indominus's one claw, it grabs a hold of Gray's like bag or something, and his face, Gray's face, and Zach's face. I'll play it in a second, but that scene they're so well acted, it's so well timed, and that always sticks with me. Like, to me, there was the scene like as if they clicked in their heads, yes, okay, we're brothers, I love him, I will not let anything happen to him. And I just really enjoyed how we actually saw a bit of what it's like for them with their parents' divorce, or them presuming that, and I actually really like them. I think they're written really well and performed really well. So then, of course, the main story, the park is now open, which I think is something this sequel was really good in doing. It really raised the stakes. I mean, from the get-go, the fact that the park is open, even as simple as the name Jurassic World, it sounds grander, you know. And while Jurassic Park will always be iconic, this film is probably grander, it's bigger. Both of these films, this and Fallen Kingdom, definitely, in my opinion, that doesn't mean they're better, definitely not, but it raises the stakes. There are so many more people, so much more at risk now. And then with the Indominus, I like the Indominus, which a lot of people don't, I don't think. And I think that raises the stakes as well, with bringing in this new creature. Like, we've never seen this before. We don't know what it's capable of. It's not even a real dinosaur, which is what most people have a problem with, I think. But I buy it. Because we're at this film, at the period this film is taking place, it is clear that the park's been open for some time, and I think yes, obviously dinosaurs would forever be beloved if they genuinely were brought back, but eventually people want new things, and I think that is true in the real world, so it makes sense to be in this world. So I think it genuinely makes sense that they'd want to bring something like the Indominus Rex in, and I think it works really well as a plot, as a story point, because at no point they're disregarding the fact that they've brought dinosaurs back. But as I say, the public will want new things. Needless to say, the CGI is great, and it can actually be pretty funny a lot of the time. I found a lot of the jokes actually land. And in opposed to Force Awakens, which followed very, very closely to A New Hope, While this film does follow a similar pattern to Jurassic Park, I think it does much more to differentiate itself than The Force Awakens did to A New Hope. And I think this is enough as well to differentiate itself as a new franchise, but also connected. It is still the same world and all of that, and I just think that's a really important thing to do. All performances are great too, despite Claire and Owen really having no characters. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard make them incredibly enjoyable to watch. But that leads me into my flaws. So yes, the characters are enjoyable, but they are not really characters. The environment is more interesting than them, and most of the environment is CGI. It's like Owen's character is being a badass. It's fun to watch because it's Chris Pratt. He always is. But I don't care. Like, I wouldn't have cared if neither of them made them out at the end, really. I don't know anything about them. They're just very basic, and I just do not care. But like I say, I can watch and I can enjoy it, but I'm not invested in it. And there wasn't even an attempt with Chris Pratt, honestly. There was no attempt at all. It felt like there was an attempt with Claire, but it just didn't work. They just kind of gave up. Thankfully, that is something Fallen Kingdom improved on massively, in my opinion. But yeah, there are some real clear fan service moments which are just distracting. And one of the most unnecessary scenes is Sarah's death, which most people have spoken about. But why? It's just so unnecessary. You know, she's not even a villain at all. You know, it would have made sense if Dr. Wu had that, or Hoskins, but no, it's just this person who was just trying her best to babysit all day. Like, yeah, she wasn't the best babysitter, but that doesn't deserve that. This film generally doesn't have much to it for me. It's just a fun ride, which, while fun, I personally want more from films. I want to be invested. I want to be in there. Like I am in Jurassic Park. I do not want to see anyone die. Ian Malcolm is so memorable. Like, all of the characters there are. I don't want any of them to die. Aside from the kids, the thing I care about most in this film is probably Blue. I mean, the Indominus Rex genuinely has more character than Owen and Claire, which is, yeah. Fallen Kingdom may have its flaws, but it has interesting characters, I think. At least it majorly improves Owen and Claire for me. The only times that I'm really genuinely enjoying this film is through the action scenes, because they're really well directed, they look pretty good, and they're just fun, because they're dinosaurs, you know? Of course it is. Obviously, another infamous flaw is Claire outrunning the T-Rex in high heels, which I don't want to talk about it. Also, I praise the CGI, but there's so much, like, it can be distracting. Like, Fallen Kingdom, again, despite its flaws, it looks 100 times better than this film, because it uses practical effects. Obviously it has CG as well, but even then the CG is better in that film. And yeah, the CG is good in this film, but there's one instance of practical effects, I believe, and like, it looks so much better than some other shots. But it's also really distracting, because my eyes get used to the massive amounts of CGI that I'm like, oh my god, that's a real thing. All this film is a collection of cool sequences, and if you're like my granddad, who just wants to have a fun time, then you will definitely have a fun ride in this film with badass Chris Pratt, dinosaurs, and dinosaur action. This film is definitely the one for you. With some emotion, but it's not overly investing. Which even then, like I said, I think I'm really one of the only ones that actually care about Zack and Gray in this film. And even then, I'm not overly invested in the entire film, because it's just those two, and they're not the only two main characters. We have Owen and Claire, and even then, like I said, they're not amazing characters, because there's only so much you can do with kids. You don't have as much to work with as you do with an adult. So I care about them, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily great. Like I was talking about all the brother stuff, it is pretty good, but it feels like a subplot, which can be quite distracting, because obviously I think Claire and Owen is supposed to be the main emotional plot, but that there wasn't one. So I don't know if they just, it was like they expected us to care about Owen and Claire, but obviously I don't think anyone really did. And that's no disrespect to the actors at all, never. No disrespect to anyone who works on the film as a person, you know. Just, I'm talking about the product here, and I feel like I have to say this every once in a while. I respect everyone who works on a film, provided they work on it respectfully and don't abuse their power or anything. And I'm just talking about the product that they made. As I say, it is really just very fun, and that's all I can really say about it. I care a fair bit about Zack and Gray, and that's it. That's all I can say, which is sad. But at least I can have a fun time. I've watched it quite a few times since it came out, and it's always fun. It's one of those background films that you'll pay attention to every now and then, and that if you just want an easy night, you will put this film on. So I give Jurassic World a 6 out of 10. I was considering giving it a 5, but I think based on the emotional connection I had to the kids, I felt able to give it just a positive score. But that's going to do it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of Jurassic World, the 2015 movie, in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.